Hello, this is Tim with Seven Spirits Rose, and in this series we are going to talk about the matrix of human experience. And this ties into manifesting your desires, manifesting according to what is known as the law of attraction, although that's kind of been rather mislabeled. But in the matrix of human experience, we are going to break down the elements that surround you and affect you. We're going to discuss the different dimensions that you occupy, even right now, and the different matrices that make up those dimensions, so that you can get an understanding of the basic mechanics of how all of this works. We're going to be touching on quantum physics for just a little bit. We're going to be touching on psychology. And we're going to be touching on the different realms that you live in, so that you can get a grasp as to what is really going on in the world around you and how you can change it. And then we're going to move into connecting with your higher self and the divine mind. So I hope you enjoy this and get a lot from it. And we'll have probably a series of 2 videos on this to help you understand, on the one hand, what is going on, and on the other hand, paradoxically, leaving all your understanding and intellect behind and connecting with the divine mind.
In understanding the matrix of the human experience, I want to examine human desire for self-fulfillment versus the present reality and expose what is really going on. Between 1860 and 1865, the word self-fulfillment entered our vocabulary and defined the longing of every human being to attain a satisfying and worthwhile life. This ideal can be traced back to the ancient Greek philosophers. It also has been common and popular in both Western and non-Western cultures. Some have rejected self-fulfillment as an egoistic concept that is impossible to achieve and regard it as an overly altruistic and obsolete idea that should be abandoned. But despite the well-intended opinions of the naysayers, what the concept of self-fulfillment reflects is the heart cry of every human being for some sense that who they are and what they do matters. It is also a cry for the freedom to make oneself happy and complete through one's own individual efforts. It includes the idea that true freedom involves being able to live life on your own terms. It also reflects the satisfaction derived from knowing that you are doing something that fully uses your talents and abilities. Unfortunately, the reality is that the number of people who actually achieve the ideal of self-fulfillment are very few. Almost half of the world, over 3 billion people, live on less than $2.50 a day. At least 80% of humanity lives on less than $10 a day. And according to UNICEF, 22,000 children die each day due to poverty. Yet relief organizations in many countries can feed a hungry child for $3.65 a month. Less than 10% of the $1.7 trillion the world spends every year on military expenditures would put every child in developing countries into school. Now, I want to touch on the crux of these issues and the issue regarding the human condition. Most of our problems are societal and psychological. In other words, humanity as a whole is running a program that tends to break down and limit our ability to communicate with each other and the natural world around us. In the meantime, this breakdown creates a release of negative energy. War, genocide, violence, slavery, addiction, starvation, racism, theft, poverty, governmental power structures that are simultaneously benevolent and malevolent, and the institutional control of the many by the few are just a few of the symptoms. If you want to change the world at large, and specifically the world around you, it is necessary that you understand what is shaping your current world and what specifically must be done to change your reality and the reality of mankind as we know it. The matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. It's the question that drives you. It's the question that brought you here. You are here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your entire life, like there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind. In order to understand the matrix of human experience, it is important that we understand the basic elements that make up that matrix. In fact, the reality is that we are not dealing with just one matrix or dimension, but multiple matrices and dimensions at the same time. For the sake of clarity, when we use the term dimension, we are speaking of the location or state of that particular realm as it relates to our perception of reality. When we use the term matrix, we are referring to the construct of the program that controls the content and function of that dimension. In the world of quantum physics, the world of atomic and subatomic particles, we find that reality is more fluid than fixed. Understanding these basic quantum principles reveals the possibilities that exist for using our own conscious energies to change our reality. Although scientists throughout the past century have been reluctant to accept the implications of quantum theory and have even tried to disprove them, the theory's principles have been supported repeatedly by experimentation. Since Max Planck introduced the concept of quanta in the early 1900s, contributions by various scientists over a 30-year period helped form the modern understanding of quantum theory. There are two major interpretations of the implication of quantum theory's impact on the nature of reality. They are the Copenhagen interpretation and the many worlds theory. Niels Bohr proposed the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum theory, which asserts that a particle is whatever it is measured to be, for example, a wave or a particle, but that it cannot be assumed to have specific properties, or even to exist until it is measured. In short, Bohr was saying that objective reality does not exist. This translates to a principle called superposition that claims that while we do not know what the state of any object is, it is actually in all possible states simultaneously, as long as we don't look to check. The second interpretation of quantum theory is the many worlds or multiverse theory. It holds that as soon as a potential exists for any object to be in any state, the universe of that object transmutes into a series of parallel universes equal to the number of possible states in which that object can exist, with each universe containing a unique single possible state of that object. Furthermore, there is a mechanism for interaction between these universes that somehow permits all states to be accessible in some way and for all possible states to be affected in some manner. Stephen Hawking and the late Richard Feynman are among the scientists who have expressed a preference for the many worlds theory. Quantum physics has also opened up an understanding of how particles can be connected or entangled over space and time. Quantum entanglement is a physical phenomenon that occurs when pairs or groups of particles are generated or interact in ways such that the quantum state of each particle cannot be described independently of the others. even when the particles are separated by a large distance. Instead, a quantum state must be described for the system as a whole. Measurements of physical properties such as position, momentum, spin, and polarization performed on entangled particles are found to be appropriately correlated. For example, if a pair of particles are generated in such a way that their total spin is known to be 0, and one particle is found to have clockwise spin on a certain axis, the spin of the other particle, measured on the same axis, will be found to be counterclockwise, as to be expected due to their entanglement. However, this behavior gives rise to paradoxical effects. Any measurement of a property of a particle can be seen as acting on that particle by collapsing a number of superposed states, and will change the original quantum property by some unknown amount. And in the case of entangled particles, such a measurement will be on the entangled system as a whole. It thus appears that one particle of an entangled pair knows what measurement has been performed on the other, and with what outcome, even though there is no known means for such information to be communicated between the particles, which at the time of measurement may be separated by arbitrarily large distances. More recently, renowned scientist Robert Lanza has introduced the theory of biocentrism, also referred to as the biocentric universe. Biocentrism builds upon the ideas of quantum physics. While physics is considered essential to the study of the universe and chemistry to the essential of the study of life, biocentrism puts biology before all other sciences in order to develop a theory of everything, a theory of the universe. This theory explains that life and biology are the central pieces to being, reality, and the cosmos. It explains how life creates the universe rather than the other way around. With biocentrism, Robert Lanza switches the focus to biology, explaining that life is not just an accidental byproduct of the laws of physics. Instead, it suggests the invigorating possibility that life is fundamentally immortal. According to Max Planck, all matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. Now, in order to understand your perception of reality, you need to realize that you exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Each dimension has its own matrix. Therefore, you also exist in multiple matrices simultaneously. As we dig down into the core elements of our reality, we find that what we perceive as reality is fluid, not fixed. It can be changed if we know how to change it. These dimensions and their attending matrices that make up our perception of reality include the physical, the intellectual, the etheric, and the spiritual realms. They are arranged here in order of their density. The physical realm is heavy. It is obvious to the physical senses. As we move through these dimensions, reality becomes less dense, more fluid, and less obvious to the physical senses. The physical is the three-dimensional physical world, including the physical body you possess in order to inhabit it, and the physical senses that allow you to perceive it. In short, the physical is the three-dimensional world you contact with your physical senses. For some, the physical represents all the reality that they can intellectually and psychologically handle. For these folks, if it can't be seen, photographed, or measured with physical instruments, it cannot exist. If it has been seen, photographed, or measured with physical instruments and contradicts the belief system of the pure materialist, it still cannot exist and must be explained away as a hoax or a purely natural phenomenon that has been misinterpreted by the viewer. The intellectual realm consists of the conscious mind as it perceives the world through the physical senses. It includes the capacity to reason, intelligence, memory, communication or language, the ego, and our self-identity. The etheric refers to the subconscious mind, the superego, our core belief system, morality, emotions, religion, intuition, imagination, inspiration, creativity, extrasensory perception, telepathy, and psychic phenomena. This etheric realm also occupies a dimension in between the physical and the spiritual, and is also connected to all the consciousness that surrounds you. Through the subconscious mind, you are connected locally, globally, and ancestrally to the universal subconscious. The etheric realm can make contact with the spiritual realm, and in many cases, even imitate it. It can also keep you from fully entering into the spiritual realm by imitating it, as it draws much of its energy and influence from the subconscious, the universal subconscious, and the superego. The spiritual refers to your higher self, the unseen and eternal you, and your relationship to and with the cosmic mind. It is pure energy, pure peace, and pure love. The dimensions or matrices that we are most naturally aware of exist in the physical and intellectual realms. However, we are never consciously aware of all that is happening even in these realms. Our conscious mind filters this as to what is appropriate to that moment in time or to the current present reality as we perceive it through our physical senses and our intellect. On the other hand, the subconscious mind is the storage vault for our past memories, judgments, and the local, global, and ancestral subconscious. For the most part, it runs on autopilot. It is also pre-programmed as far as its functional capabilities. Our ego, or self-identity, that bridges the conscious and the subconscious mind, filters this information even further. The ego is the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and our sense of personal identity. For the most part, it too runs on autopilot. It is also pre-programmed as far as its functional capabilities. Taking this further, the programming of the ego can be manipulated by experiences and input coming from others, particularly parents, society, religious, and authority figures. This external programming is known as the superego in Freudian psychology. The superego controls our sense of right and wrong and guilt. It helps us fit into society by getting us to act in socially acceptable ways. The superego is also pre-programmed as far as its function, but the information the program contains can be manipulated. For example, what might be considered the norm in one society could be regarded as immoral, barbaric, and inhumane in another. The physical senses, the intellect, the conscious and subconscious mind, the ego, and the superego all contribute to what we define as reality. But what is reality? If real is what you can feel, smell, taste, and see, then real is simply electrical signals being interpreted by your brain. Have you ever had a dream that you were sure was real? What if you are unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world? When you were born, in your early years, much of the reality you experienced was inherited or transmuted from your parents and your ancestral past. However, you can change your present reality. The catch is that you cannot manifest in your life what you simply desire. You can only manifest in your life what you believe. Your reality is ultimately framed not by what you desire, but by what you believe. And what you believe is largely inherited and stored in your subconscious mind. In attempting to come to grips with the reality of mankind as a whole, throughout recorded history, the human race has yet to come to grips with its own internal issues. as if we are passing on an inherent madness from one generation to the next. I'm recalling a scene from Alice in Wonderland here, where Alice states, "But I don't want to go among mad people." To which the Cheshire Cat replies, "Oh, you can't help that. We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad." "How do you know I'm mad?" said Alice. "You must be," said the cat, "or you wouldn't have come here." Within the construct and programming of the conscious and subconscious mind, including the ego and superego, is an artificial system, and that system is your enemy. It is not the construct of the matrix of these programs, but is a system that has been implanted into these matrices that operates within them like a computer virus. It seeks to keep you distracted from contacting your higher self and the divine or cosmic mind. It is designed to keep you as a slave to the powers that be, the archons that run the system. This is the world of the haves and the have-nots, the doers and the doubters, the world of slaves and masters, the rulers and the ruled, the envied and the envious, the world of the incredibly rich and the incredibly destitute. And no matter where you fit in, you are ultimately serving the system. The archons, the interdimensional beings that run the system, are essentially parasites that use this program system to feed off of our physical and psychic energy. This parasitic program runs primarily in the human subconscious and the superego. Like everyone else, you are born into bondage, into a prison that you cannot taste or see or touch, a prison for your mind. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this. Unlike the computer-generated world Morpheus was referring to in the movie The Matrix, the parasitic program that we are referring to is designed to alter our perception of reality. Some people will totally reject most, if not all, of what we are discussing here. However, you must also understand that most people are not yet ready to be unplugged from that matrix, and many of them are so inured, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. On the other hand, the answer is looking for you, and it will find you if you want it to. The spiritual matrix, the realm of the cosmic mind, is pure creative and recreative energy. It is beyond the understanding of the human intellect. There are modalities that can be used to connect with it, but in its pure form, it has no rites or rituals, no holy books, no temples, no priesthood, and no dogmas. It cannot be adequately explained or understood in intellectual terms. It can only be absorbed and experienced apart from the filters of the ego and the intellect. It is what we call zero state. It is pure intelligence, pure energy, pure peace, and pure love. Unfortunately, no one can be told what zero state is. You have to see and experience it for yourself, for it is nothing, and it is everything at the same time. By allowing the cosmic mind to lead you into the realm or dimension that is beyond the human intellect, you allow yourself to be influenced and directed by the cosmic mind. Instead of the matrix ruling you, you are allowing the cosmic mind to bend the matrix of your reality to make it work on your behalf. You will develop a heightened sense of intuition and understanding. This can and will have a profound effect on the intellect, but the catalyst for this is not in trying to intellectually dissect it and figure it all out, but in simply allowing yourself to be absorbed into it. You have to let it all go. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Free your mind. Connecting with the cosmic mind is our way out of the parasitic program and the system that is designed to imprison us. In the second video, we will take a closer look at this parasitic program and how to disarm it. We will also explore the modalities that can be used to connect to our higher self and the cosmic mind, and finally achieve the goal of personal self-fulfillment.